On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Angels did what you're supposed to do against terrible teams. Win. That's what they're supposed to do. A great start for Griffin Canning begs this question. Was he good because he was good or because he pitched against the White Sox? We'll answer that. It's time to get Locked On with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Our third season covering Angels baseball here on Locked On Angels. Of course, we'll be taking this into the offseason, and while the postseason, everyone's having fun, we're going to be like that meme of Squidward watching
out the window.
Yeah, out the window.
Yeah.
That's going to be us. But we'll be talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday. Always a lot of stuff to cover. Always so much to get into in the offseason. One of my favorite things that we do, Mike, is the player grades are coming up soon. And the way you can get involved in that is we'll have a Google Doc that we share, and you can vote on that doc, and it's so much fun. We get so many great comments and feedback and get to hear what you thought of each player this season, from, the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. So that's going to be a lot of fun. On today's show, Mike Trout spoke about next year and admitted something that fans have been suggesting for a long, long time. And Dana and Joyce, Caden, Dana, Ben, Joyce showed some maturity recently. We've got what they said in response to their season's ending. We'll talk about that. Mike, the Angels walked away with a win against the White Sox, 5-0 last night. Let's get into it.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do against a team that's lost over 110, 115
right.
games, right?
Sorry, just the way you say that is 100% true. Here's my thing. Any given night, any team can beat any other team, right? You can see the Angels take one from the Dodgers. You can see them take one from the Yankees. You can see somebody like the A's take one from the Angels. I think even the Marlins beat up the Dodgers last night because Bobby Miller was on the mound. That's how the Angels got their win, by the way. And any given night, you can beat any team. This is different. This is a 115 loss team and one of the worst teams that's played in the modern era, Mike. They're going to set the tone for the most losses in this modern baseball era. And so to have a performance like they did Monday night versus Tuesday night, when you say this is what you're supposed to do against bad teams, this is it. This is it right here, right?
Yeah. Griffin Canning had a really good start, went 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 Ks. John, you strongly critiqued Griffin in his last start. So what do you think he did differently here? Or was it about him, or was it about the White Sox just not being good?
I knew this is going to come back to bite me. And so I'm glad you brought this up, because last week I was very critical of Griffin Canning not being able to get the job done. And I still stand by that. I look at his line, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 Ks. That's what you're supposed to do against the White Sox. In fact, I would say, hey, the 2 walks, that's where you're supposed to be. But here's my problem, Mike, is that you can't count on Griffin Canning to be consistent. You can't count on him to go out there and do the things that he does well every single time. In fact, what you can count on is runs in the first inning, runs in the second inning, runs in the third inning, just something that he's done all season long. And I have motion sickness from the ups and downs and left and rights of this roller coaster known as Griffin Canning. And so I'm not moved by this. I think that this is exactly the kind of start that you should be getting. And in contrast to, what happened to Reed Detmers, he let the game get out of hand and surrendered 3 runs in the first. that should have been the end of it for Reed Detmers, and for Canning to come out and pitch well in this one is great. I'm glad they picked up the win. I like when my team wins. I like when these guys do well. But again, it comes back to who's he facing, who are they running out there, and quite frankly, it's just so inconsistent that I can't look to this and go, all right, that's the Griffin Canning I want to see. That's the Griffin Canning who can do it. How long have I been saying that? How long have we been saying that? That's the guy we want to see out there. And I just can't do that anymore.
Yeah, playing a team like this, there's really not a win, right? Because it's a team that you're supposed to, in your effort, are supposed to dominate. You're supposed to be a better team. And these are the games that people are like, there's not like, well, there's a moral victory or this team had a lot of fight. When you play the White Sox, you should win. And win today, and it'll be 2 out of 3, and it'll be a winning series. But this is tough because Griffin has really struggled, and then he's had really good starts, and then he's struggled again. And this feels like he's on that roller coaster of the Griffin Canning 2024 season. Now, here's what I really liked about this game, Johnny, is that Canning's line, he only had 3 hits against him.
Right.
Only 2 walks, which and that's a lot of walks, but he's somebody that was able to work around that. In games previous, we've seen 11 hits, we've seen 9 hits, and we've seen him give up a few runs in the first inning. It's been homer, and then it's been a double, and then another home run. And so those are positives that Griffin can run with. But again, it's hard to really be positive because it is the Chicago White Sox, right?
Yeah, exactly. And what you want to know, the peak frustration I have is he can have a start against the Dodgers that looks an awful lot like this start against the White Sox. Yeah. And it's like, but he's not that guy all the time. He's so up and down because in between those 2 starts was a terrible start. And I just I'm going to barf from the motion sickness, Mike. I can't do it anymore. But the highlight here, and this is what pleased me in watching the game last night, Eric Wagaman has just made the most of his time in the major league so far. Hit another home run last night, got his first single last night because he hasn't hit a single yet. It's all been extra base hits, and he knocked in a couple more RBIs. Now, when do the questions pop up? Because you and I know we're going to have to answer this all off season. When do the Wagaman starts at third base in 2025 conversations start from the Angel fans? What do you say?
John, there's always this guy at the end of the year that plays really well.
Levon Soto.
Right. Yeah. And then we get sucked into the vortex of maybe there's something here. Right. But one of the things that I would encourage fans to look at, and what I look at, is what's their history, right? Mm-hmm. Wagaman has had 2,000 at bats in the minor leagues for a reason, right? Good players aren't in the minor leagues really that long, right? They're going to be up to the major leagues. Starters are going to be at the major leagues a whole lot longer. Yes, there's anomalies. Yes, there's situations that don't fit the norm, but let's just pump the brakes on a Wagaman is going to be this guy in 2025, because the reality is he may not be around at all next year, because that just seems to be what happens with some of these on fire guys that show up in September. They end up being the guy that gets DFA'd, or over a period of time, you start to figure out they've had enough plate appearances and enough at bats. Oh, they are the guy that was stuck in the minor leagues for a really long time.
Now, to play devil's advocate just a little bit with you, that sounds awfully familiar to somebody like Jared Walsh, right? Where he made quite an impression in 2020. He was actually pitching games in 2019 for us at times out of relief. And then 2021 is where they gave him a real chance. He took off and had the all-star season, all of that stuff. We all know how that ended up. Health issues, vision issues, headaches, insomnia, all that. Right. And so that's why he's had such a hard fall off. But to play devil's advocate here, maybe there is something to Wagaman. At the same time, we're getting a lot more production out of him than we have at third base all season long. Right. And that's not discounting Rengifo. That's discounting Anthony Rendon.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's got 2 home runs, 2 more than Anthony has all season long, and probably will have. And so to me, there's an argument going to be made of give Wagaman a chance, because who cares what Rendon's doing over there at this point. So I'm with you. I think that we can buy into the hype. We get sucked into the hype. At the same time, I think there's going to be a case to be made about the fact that he's already been more productive than Anthony Rendon's been all season long. So why not give him a chance? I just kind of wonder, yes, but if the Angels are going to do something about third base, then there's probably better options out there.
Absolutely. And remember, he's done this against the White Sox. So that's the first team. That's why we got to pump the brakes.
And
yes,
the Astros.
And yes, there are anomalies. So there might be something. There might be something there. Right. And so that is okay. I think that what we need to do as fans is we need to see consistency over a period of time. Which, by the way, Jared Walsh had 29 home runs and 97 RBIs in 2020. I mean, what a season that was, right? And it's so a shame. It's so terrible that he wasn't able to sustain that because of health issues and things like that. But I just, Baseball Reference, my favorite website, I went there the other day. I'm like, he had a really freaking good season that year.
And he saved the All-Star game for the American League. And when he was playing left field, he made that play. And he wasn't even supposed to be there as a left fielder. So that was kind of funny. Yeah. Mike, I want you to answer this question for you. Multi-hit game for Taylor Ward in this one. But you know what bugs me a little bit is the fact that, the last two seasons, Rengifo got the, he only puts up numbers when it doesn't matter narrative. He got that last season. He got it the year before.
Yeah.
And we argued he just needed consistent playing time to be somebody who was good. He gets consistent playing time at the end of the season because there were injuries. So Rengifo had to play. Right now, Taylor Ward is putting up great numbers. Why doesn't he get that same treatment with the narrative? How is this different? Tell me.
Yeah. I really think that it's hard to answer this question because there haven't been meaningful games in August and September for the Angels in thousands of years, right? And so it's hard to say, well, here's why this guy and not that guy. I think that Ward has a bit more time under his belt, and we've seen him do some good things at the start of the season.
Fair.
And Rengifo, I think, has flipped the narrative because he did have an opportunity at the start of the season, and we saw him hit over 300 and be a key person in this lineup and help the lineup turn over, those types of things. I think that Ward has had time to be able to put in the time when the Angels were at least competitive because it was April, right? And so they're in the race or they're battling for something, and those games really do matter. I just think it's really hard to fully answer this question because we don't know what Ward will do until it actually happens when the Angels are being competitive. So I hope that this is a sign of what Taylor Ward can possibly do in September. And if it is, that would be something that could carry the team, right?
Up that trade value, baby. That's how I look at it. Finish out with a great season and get yourself traded in the offseason. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels are playing the White Sox at 1:07 Pacific time. It's an early one, so don't miss it. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up with Locked On Angels, Mike Trout spoke about his future. We'll share what he had to say, and we'll give our responses coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel. They're America's #1 sportsbook, and they've got something for you now through September 22nd. This Sunday is when it ends. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch all of those regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market games. You're not blacked out, which I still think it's just ridiculous. You should be able to watch all the games. Isn't that what you want? You want fans to watch the games? All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. They are an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball. I love using Game Time when I want to go to the Big A. In fact, now that time is running out to go to the Big A, you don't have to just wait for next season. You can go to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, save up to 60% off on your tickets with Game Time. They have exclusive in-app flash deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. You can save even more on zone deals when you choose a section, and then Game Time picks the seats for you. They got all-in pricing, so it shows the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout. You get a nice panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what you're going to be looking at, depending on if it's an event or a sports game or something like that. They have the lowest price guarantee, which means Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find cheaper tickets. With every purchase you receive Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible ticket customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download Game Time and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? It's game time.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, and this is Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. And John and I want to invite you to join us at the O'Hoppe All-Star Bowl. We're going to go bowling with Logan O'Hoppe and some of his teammates. We're going to raise some funds for Corey's Promise. Corey is a former teammate of Logan O'Hoppe who tragically passed away from cancer. And so this organization actually is close and near and dear to Logan O'Hoppe's heart. They help offset the financial burden that families are dealing with as their children battle cancer. And you can come and help be a part of raising some funds by getting your tickets to join us at the O'Hoppe All-Star Bowl Saturday, October 5th at Cow Bowl in Lakewood. We're going to be there from 1 to 4. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to bowl with you, and we'd love to bowl with the players. We'll get to meet and greet. It's going to be a really incredible day, and you can grab your tickets right now by clicking the link in the episode description, and when you do, we're going to hook you up. You can use the promo code BROS at checkout. You'll get $50 off your ticket. That's BROS, and you'll get $50 off your ticket. So come and hang with us at the O'Hoppe All-Star Bowl. Can't wait to bowl with Johnny, with all of our everydayers on Saturday, October 5th at Cow Bowl in Lakewood from 1 to 4 p.m.
Mike Trout was interviewed on Monday. He said his knee is feeling pretty good. He said he's been cleared to swing the bat, is doing agility drills. He also said that he's hoping to have a normal offseason, so all systems go there as well. He said that he's open to conversations about moving to a corner outfield spot or serving as a DH more if it keeps him healthy. He said, I feel great. I just started swinging about 4 or 5 days ago. I'm just trying to get back into a routine so I can have a normal offseason. It's getting stronger every day. Feels good being able to move some weight around. Then he spoke on the possibility of moving out of center field. He said, I think there's definitely going to be some conversations in the offseason. It's reality. I know I have a certain amount of years on my deal, and I knew when I signed my contract, I eventually would move to a corner. But is it next year? I don't know, but we'll have the conversation. Mike, you got some stats listed there. Why don't you read those out for us?
Yeah, Trout's played 124 games in left field in his career, 17 in right field in his career. He's also started at DH 80 times, Johnny, but has said in the past that he's had trouble finding the right routine as a DH. In fact, he's a career 214 hitter in that role.
Feels like it. Yeah.
So the big question is, obviously, this is the first time we've really heard Trout being open to moving. So what's the best move, John?
Yeah, isn't it wild that Trout was playing left field, and that's where we get the Trout farm in left field?
Yeah.
Because Peter Borges was playing center field.
Borges.
The priority, Mike, the priority was Borges in center field over Mike Trout in center field, which I think at the time made sense. Borges was an incredible center fielder, so that just kind of cracks me up a little bit. But this is the first time we've kind of heard the verbal confirmation from Trout saying, hey, things are going to be happening. We're going to be having these conversations, and even saying like, yeah, I'm willing to do this. Now, the is it next year? I don't know.
Yeah.
Come on. It's next year, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be next year, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the answer. Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Because this has been a conversation that we've been having about Mike Trout since 2021, if not before that, right? But since 2021, every year he's been hurt. And so this is a conversation that has needed to happen. And I think it needed to be publicly addressed because everybody's wondering, like, what's the benefit of him continuing to do the same thing in the same way every single season? How many times have we heard, when we have a normal offseason,
right?
Well, good. But how about not a normal regular season? How about we change the routine and the rhythm? How about we do work on what happens when you're DHing? How about we get him with the hitting coach, Johnny Washington, and they work on, here's how we can keep you engaged. How about if we have him move to left field? Because it's probably the simplest outfield position, especially at Angel Stadium, right?
Mhm.
How about we do those things to keep our generational superstar on the field? How about we make decisions that are different than what we've made in the last few years? I'm all about respecting the veterans. I'm about respecting Mike Trout. He has earned it with his loyalty, with his play, with his awards, with his stats. I'm all about honoring that. But I'm also about helping lead this guy to staying on the field, because what we've done the last few years hasn't worked. It's time for a change. And so there shouldn't be any questions as to when this will happen. It has to happen in 2025, Mike. It has to happen in 2025. And if it doesn't happen in 2025, we're just going to continue to repeat the cycle of what we've had the last few years.
Are you talking to Trout, or are you talking to yourself to convince yourself that this
Mike
is
and I
gonna
are on the
happen?
first name. Mikes have first name basis with other Mikes.
That's right. That's right. Mike, you can't brute force health. And that's what happened when we came into this season. It was,
I like that.
oh man,
Fourth health. Yeah.
Mike Trout's going to steal somebody. He's going to run more. He's going to do this. He's going to play center field. He's going to do all these things. Great. That's fantastic. And then we got 29 games.
Mm-hmm.
We got 29 games out of our 3-time, should be 5-time MVP, the centerpiece of this team who signed the career extension, the loyalty deal, right?
Yeah.
Could have gone out, could have had any amount of dollars he wanted. So when people say, well, he's just in it for the money, he could have got way more money from some other team out there than the Angels.
Oh, yeah.
So shut your mouth with that. But what I'm saying here is we came into the season with a positive mindset, a Halo honk mindset that Trout's going to be great. He's going to do all these things. He's going to be healthy and da-da-da. And we got 29 games. And that's why I say you can't brute force health, because every year it's something different. You pointed out that it is probably a good thing that it's not a recurring issue.
Yeah.
It's not a recurring calf issue,
Yeah.
back issue, all that stuff. However, it's been something different every single year. And that is what doesn't sit well with me. And when it comes to the back, when it comes to the legs, the calf, the knee, there are things that you can do to mitigate that stuff. I still contend. And I don't know if this is like self-fulfilling prophecy because people have heard us say it and they're sharing it with their friends. But I love being on Angels Reddit, and I see it there too. Everybody agrees that this guy needs to trim down, and not because he's a fat dude or something like that or overweight.
Yeah.
He's beefy.
Yeah.
He's muscular. And I don't know that he necessarily needs that in the same way that like Joe Adell is a muscular dude, but he's lean.
Yeah.
And he's got power. And the emphasis on this team right now is that you don't have to crush everything. We just need base hits. You're gonna get the doubles. The home runs are going to come because you're free and easy with your swing. You're not trying to brute force again everything to be a home run. And I think you see that with guys like Joe Adell. When he gets a home run, it usually is free and easy. It's not because he's trying to swing for the fences. And then sometimes it's, a double into the gap, which is great too. And sometimes, you brought this up before, sometimes that frenetic hitting is better to have a double than a home run because you want to keep the pressure on that pitcher, right? So all of that to say, I think that there is still stuff to be done, still work to be done for Mike Trout this offseason. And I think part of that is somebody's got to tell him. Somebody's got to say something, Mike, to get him to slim down a little bit, don't you think?
I think so. And I think that that's a conversation that has to come from Ron Washington, that has to come from Perry Manassian, that has to come from the upper management guys who are like, Mike, we just feel like this is better. Here, let me show you your stats when you were leaner and meaner. And it doesn't mean that he lost power. He was still an incredible home run hitter. It was a swing, John. He was able to had a quick swing path to the ball. Barry Bonds is an example of that. Barry didn't need to get to be huge to hit home runs. Now, getting huge added 20 to 30 home runs in his season, right? But he was already hitting 30 to 40 home runs a season, and it was because of his swing and his swing path. He was able to make good contact, barrel the ball, and Mike Trout is able to do that. He's proven that in his younger years. I know that he's a little bit slower. Eyes may not be as great, and so I think that it would be important for him lean up, slim up a little bit, and then work on your swing as more of a level swing. And if the dude walks away next season with a full season and he hits in the 280s and hits 30 home runs and knocks in 100 RBIs, that's a great year because he's in there the whole time. And I think he adds 10 wins to this team. Don't know if they're a playoff team or if they're getting close to 500 based off of the rest of the roster, but him being in there is always going to benefit this Angels organization.
Absolutely. And the team is better with him than it is without him. And it's more than just the play on the field. It's the benefits to the young guys. It's having him in the clubhouse, in the dugout, and having him in the middle of the order as well.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Arena Club. Card collectors, the idea of spending thousands of dollars or more on Luka or Ellie or Mahomes rookie cards just isn't in the cards, right? But thanks to slab picks from arenaclub.com, it's now possible to score great cards for a fraction of their retail price. Arena Club provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear rates for each one. Arena Club slab picks are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club grading process is accurate, it's fast, it's transparent, with a full grade rationale provided, an explanation of how your card was scored. So whether you're buying or you're selling or you're trading or maybe just displaying because you like your cards, Arena Club is the card collecting platform that you have to check out. And right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnMLB and use our promo code LockedOnMLB. That way they know you came from Locked On Angels. You'll get 10% off. Again, arenaclub.com/LockedOnMLB using the promo code LockedOnMLB for 10% off your first purchase.
Mike, I said it on yesterday's episode, and it was the fact that I was so bummed that we're not seeing Ben Joyce. We're not seeing Caden Dana, not even Mickey Moniak or Joe Adell because they're dealing with injuries and whatnot. And it was so frustrating to watch Monday night's game. However, I have to say that despite their seasons being over, both Ben Joyce and Caden Dana handled that news with maturity. For Joyce, it was the shoulder that ended his season, had some inflammation there.
Yeah.
We got the word that the MRI results of his right shoulder, they were clean. It was just showing inflammation. And Wash said they felt it was best to shut him down at this point. Wash said, we're not messing around with keeping Ben Joyce and risking that injury. The MRI is clean. He hasn't been throwing. We're not going to force him into action right now. He's too big moving forward, as in he's too important to this team moving forward. And I think that restraint, didn't I say that yesterday? Restraint. The Angels show restraint. Maybe somebody can communicate that to Mike Trout and Wash and all of them as well. We're not messing around with that. Let's make that the phrase going into the offseason, right?
Yeah. That's for Ben Joyce. As far as Caden Dana is concerned, Wash said that he had a long year, and we don't want him being out there getting negative vibes. Washer 72. I love that negative vibe. So good. About his outings when when it's not going the way that he wanted them to go, which I think is smart because that could get into your head and into your heart, right?
You could see it. You could see it that it was starting to. Yeah.
Yes. Frustrating. Wash also said it was about the amount of innings that he pitched. So he had 145 and 2/3 innings pitched this last season. Johnny, he just pitched 68 and 1/3 last year.
Right.
So he more than doubled that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's huge. Now, here's the maturity part. This is what we loved. Both pitchers, when they were told, here's what we're going to do. First for Dana, Wash said that Caden Dana took it like a pro. I love that. He knows what we're doing, and it's in his best interest, according to Wash. He said he's a young baby. I love that too. He's followed our lead. We decided to shut him down, and that was the end of that. Johnny, for Joyce, Wash said he understood. He's a huge piece, and he understood why we would shut him down. So I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Joyce is going to need to sacrifice some of his velocity at some point to save that shoulder and that elbow?
That's a good question. Here's the thing, and this is tricky because if I understood the mechanics a little bit better, as a pitcher, somebody who's actually been there before, I could speak a little bit more confidently on this. But having watched as much baseball as we've watched and people that we've seen and players over the years, there's something about Ben Joyce that feels different than, say, Ty Buttrey, right?
Yeah.
Or even like Justin Anderson. We saw him with the White Sox the other night.
Yeah.
Used to be an Angels reliever. There's something about Joyce's delivery that feels free and easy. Am I wrong? Does that sound right to you?
I think you're right, because it's all about his legs. And
Yes.
that's something that Troy Percival talked about a lot.
Yes.
Is that you can throw hard with your arm and with your shoulder, but the velocity and the power comes from the push off in your mechanics, but specifically with your legs, right? That's Jordan Walden is an example of that. I know he had a funky delivery and he had the hop, right? But the hop is really what got him to 100 and 101, right? He couldn't continue to sustain that. His control was all over the place. Even if you played him on the show, you would immediately have the ball like bouncing around. Remember that? Like
controller vibrating.
Yes. And so that was his problem, is he couldn't repeat his mechanics in the exact same way. Ben Joyce can, and it really has to do with his legs.
That's a really good point. First of all, props to you for bringing up Jordan Walden. Second, repeatable mechanics, I think is what it's all about, Mike. And I think that's what Ben Joyce does well. Mike, he also, consider this, added the splinker about halfway through the season.
Yep.
Remember that he was up and then he was down and he came back up. And to add that splinker, to have a lower velo fastball, essentially, it's a sinker splitter kind of thing. That's going to save some wear and tear on your arm as well. So I don't think that they need to sacrifice any velocity. I think that if he plays the Shohei Ohtani game where Ohtani could throw 97, 98, 99, but then when he wanted to throw 103 and do it strategically, and that's strategic pitching, by the way, you heard me talk about that yesterday, Ohtani could do it. Yeah. And I think Joyce has done that this season, and I think he could continue to do that this season. Again, the 105.5 on the edge, painting the corner of the strike zone was fantastic. Yeah. And he ramped it up for that specific moment. So again, I think now that he has another weapon in the splinker and also has shown the ability to control the velo and add to it when he wants to, I think those are two really great things in Ben Joyce's case. I think he's going to be fine coming into next season.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can make your second listen Locked On MLB with our friend Sully. He's going to take you all the way to the playoffs and all the way to the World Series, has some really good nuggets to share along the way. You can check out his show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. He's a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We hope that you'll join us there. Come on over to YouTube, whether you're watching or listening, get in the comments section. It's the best way to interact with us. And it really helps out our channel as well. It takes on the YouTube algorithm and fights it so that we can get in front of more Angels fans. So be sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Mike, what do we have on deck for Thursday's show?
Johnny, there's a new name in the Halo's top 30, and we're going to introduce you to him tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Hey, I like that. Is it you? Is it me?
It's not me. I wish it was.
Dang. All right, friends, we hope you'll come back and join us for that conversation. We'll also be recapping the game against the White Sox again later today, 1:07 Pacific time. Don't miss it. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
John, did you see what Brent Rooker said about Joyce, about facing him? He said, "It's horrible. It's terrifying. I hate it."